Call of Duty Black Ops is the third game that Treyarch has made in this Call of Duty series so far, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be quite as good as Modern Warfare 2. With that aside, I found Black Ops to be a pretty good game overall. I think it's definitely a significant improvement over World at War, and just on all fronts, it's definitely a pretty enjoyable game for the most part, though it does have its share of flaws. In the game's campaign mode, you play as Alex Mason. You find yourself in an interrogation room at the beginning of the game, where a guy behind in another room is talking to you and demanding to know where a certain broadcast station is. Almost all the missions in the entire game are flashback sequences where you recall your previous missions with some of your teammates in order to try and figure out what the hell this guy's talking about and stop this chemical weapon called Nova 6 from detonating across the United States. The story can be a bit convoluted at times, but there's a lot of good characters along the way that you get attached with, and there's some solid voice acting from Sam Worthington and the other supporting cast that makes this story definitely very top-notch all around. The only real minor complaint I have towards the story is that since most of them are in the past, you don't really feel a sense of danger towards Alex Mason because you already know he survives through all of it. Because in Modern Warfare 2, some of the guys don't actually survive it. So, and coming off that experience, you know, it sort of subsides the level of danger you feel towards the character, but still, that's a minor complaint towards the story. Gameplay-wise, everything's virtually the same as the previous Call of Duty games. You still travel from point A to point B to point C, shooting the shit out of anyone you see, and teammates, unfortunately, still have to open the doors for you, which is definitely very annoying. In terms of new gameplay content, you could actually dive into cover now instead of just, like, walking up and going prone, so you could actually like dive in prone in midair, so that's kind of cool. But besides that, there's really no new actual gameplay features in the game. In terms of new weapons, they added a crossbow, which is pretty cool in case you want to like explode a bunch of stuff. It's satisfying to like, since they have explosive vaults, just attach it to someone and then watch them explode. It's definitely pretty cool. And towards the end of the game, you actually get to fly in a helicopter and sort of drive it around and blow a bunch of stuff up, and that's cool. And the same goes for in the middle of the game where you actually go into a boat and shoot a bunch of people. The controls for these vehicles are pretty smooth overall, and anyone who's played Call of Duty will probably get used to them in the first maybe 10 seconds that you drive these vehicles, so those sequences were definitely pretty fun. I found that the missions were generally varied. You know, sometimes you're in the jungle, sometimes you're in more wintry settings. At one point you actually get to fly a jet in the air and then sort of guide your squad by placing markers using a computer on your in space, and then like to guide your squad through the winter storm. That's definitely very cool. So I generally really enjoyed this campaign a lot. It'll take you probably around 6 hours to beat, but I do think it has some replay value, so you probably want to replay this at least another time over again. In terms of the audio-visual presentation, everything looks pretty solid for the most part. For the graphics, I don't think they made much of an upgrade from Modern Warfare 2 to this one, or even from World at War for that matter. A lot of the textures still appear a bit smudgy and sort of unclear, and the enemies appear a bit repetitive, I guess. Like in terms of the design, you'll see a lot of the same guys when you're fighting them. And finally, some of the facial textures of the enemies, like earlier in this particular video, I was strangling someone with a wire, and the facial textures on his face just weren't very good. They were all kind of like blurry and smudgy looking. And in terms of the audio, the voice work in this game is pretty good for the most part. They have Gary Oldman, you know, Sam Worthington, pretty good actors in this. And then in the in-game sound, you know, all you're gonna hear is explosions and gunfire and stuff like that. Say what you will about Treyarch, but I definitely think they make pretty solid campaigns for the most part. And did I mention how violent this game could be? In terms of the multiplayer, everything's basically the exact same as the other games. You still have your 5 custom slots. You unlock more weapons as you progress up in the multiplayer. You could choose whatever attachments you want and sort of camo, things like that. You can choose equipment like what sort of grenades and secondary grenades you want and stuff like that. And then you of course have your perks, which are like abilities, you know, faster reloading and faster rate of fire in your guns and stuff like that, like modifications to your weapons and like movement speed and stuff like that that vary depending on your playing style. The obvious new change here is the addition of a currency system. So you basically, once you unlock your rank or whatever, so you unlock the ability to purchase the gun, you actually have to spend money in order to get the gun that you want, and you basically have to buy all the attachments as well, so there's no more challenges and stuff like that that you have to do with the certain iron sights to unlock the holographic sight. All that's gone, so you are able to buy all the attachments you want right off the bat as long as you have the amount of money you need. Unfortunately, you're still going to have to do a bunch of challenges to unlock the pro versions of the perks, which means they have another ability after you've unlocked the regular perk. There's like another side ability, so there's 2 abilities that come with each perk, so you have to unlock challenges to do those. I wish you could have just purchased those as well, since everything else in the game is relying on the currency system, so I don't see why that one shouldn't. In terms of the game modes, every game mode that you've come to expect is here. There's still Team Deathmatch, you know, Capture the Flag, Domination, Demolition, and a variety of other different modes like Free-for-all as well. So all the basic modes are still here. However, there are some new game modes called Wager Matches, and basically there's a couple different types of them, and they rely on betting your COD points in order to get more COD points out of it by being in the top 3 players in the match that earn the highest amount of kills or points and stuff like that. One mode puts you where you spawn with a certain type of weapon, and you get, as you get more kills with each type of weapon, you gain a new different kind of weapon. And then another one is where you start off with a pistol with only 1 bullet in it, and if you kill someone you gain another bullet, and if you misfire then you're going to knife the guy the whole time. So I've never really been a big fan of these modes since I'm not a good gambler. I don't really like gambling. I prefer to play the game normally and just play on the normal modes. But if you're a big gambler, you know, if you like to play high stakes sort of game modes, then I suppose that's for you. But I didn't really much care for these new types of game modes. In terms of the maps, they're generally a lot smaller than they were in World at War, which is, in my opinion, definitely a good thing, because I never really liked being sniped from a long distance or traveling and trying to seek out the action rather than engaging in the action. You should see my other World at War video to see what my problems were. And they've generally fixed a lot of the problems in World at War, though I definitely think that the hit detection system is still a problem here, and the AC-130 chopper gunner and stuff like that is definitely overpowered when someone walks outside of a building and you die in like 5 seconds. But it's good that they removed tanks. I thought those were really imbalanced. So, although most of my problems with World at War are definitely fixed here. So, if you've liked Call of Duty multiplayer in the past, you're definitely going to find it pretty damn enjoyable here. Another new feature they added to the game is the theater mode, and that's definitely a cool thing to, you know, sort of like in Halo Reach, where you just record any cool kill moments or memorable moments that you want to save. And it's a cool feature, though I definitely think that Reach did it better. You know, it has a better control layout and just a lot better in terms of taking screenshots and recording. So the system could definitely be improved upon, but it's definitely a welcome addition to this series. The final mode to talk about is the zombie mode, and to be honest, I didn't really much care for it in World at War, and I don't much care for it now. Basically, you try to survive increasingly difficult zombie waves, and by buying off different weapons off the walls and unlocking new areas. Once you basically earn points for killing zombies, and then you unlock more areas by spending more points on that. But I never really felt like this game mode had a lot of depth to it, and I didn't really have all that much fun playing it, and it got sort of boring after a while. But if you've been a big fan of it, then I'm sure you're going to definitely like it here, but I'm just not a fan of it. So overall, I had a pretty damn good time with Black Ops. I wouldn't say it's Game of the Year worthy. I would definitely give that award to Mass Effect 2, but as a first-person shooter, this is definitely a very good title to pick up. If you've been a big fan of Call of Duty for the past few years and are a big fan of the multiplayer system, it's more of it here, but if you didn't like it, then it's not going to change your mind at all. But if you're a big fan of first-person shooters in general, and if you've been a big fan of the Call of Duty series, then you're going to find a lot to like here. And it's definitely a worthy game to pick up.
On station 6, standing by!